The work of doing begins in our thinking.
Totally.
That's kind of what I hear you saying.
Yes,
so
thank you for saying
often
that.
we think the work of improving our work is by changing our work.
No.
But you're actually pushing it back to no, actually, if what you're doing isn't working, start with your thinking. You know, it's one thing to get on someone's calendar, but it's an entirely different thing to make that moment count. Today, we're talking with Darren Cde Baca, a man who spent over 40 years in the trenches of financial wholesaling. He didn't get there by following the crowd. He got there by thinking differently, showing up intentionally, and turning routine appointments into something meaningful. If you're wondering what separates the average from the exceptional in this business, you're about to hear it. Welcome to the Financial Wholesaler Podcast, conversations about meetings that matter. Today, we're going to spend time just looking again at some of the core elements of your framework. I think today we'll be talking about the 5 mindset tools,
Yes,
and the 5 habit set tools. And just in listening to you and knowing you, these are really the essentials, the building blocks to everything you do in coaching, financial wholesalers and advisors and other professionals in the industry. But give us an overview again of how you see these two being linked together and why we need a conversation about this.
absolutely. Thanks for asking that question, because when we as financial wholesalers or advisors or as a selling person, we have to have a mindset that's ready to incorporate good habits. So the DCB strategy's core fundamental scenarios of understanding how to work with new habits is you got to have a great mindset. So you got to have mindset tools. There's a great saying that's really true, and you'll know this. As we train our brain, our body will follow.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think anybody in the audience would disagree with that.
Yeah.
Whatever your brain thinking and really dives into, your body's going to follow with actions. So in the DCB structure of doing things, we have to make sure that the mindset tools are very apparent and exercise daily, so it becomes a great way to separate themselves from the distractions and make sure they get right into the habit set.
Yeah.
So let me get into the mindset tools.
Yeah.
Because the mindset tools, we have to have those first before we go on to actions.
Right.
As I mentioned, train your brain, your actions will follow, your body will follow. So take a look at the mindset tools. There's 5. There's a little bit in here. So if you're a great student about your craft, which all the listeners are, it's one reason they're listening to this today, let's take some notes and become really interested in these points. And by all means, if you need more fleshing of these points out, go to dcbstrategies.com and take a look at them. They're all right there. But the first mindset tool is speaking to yourself in an I am tense, present tense. There's 3 ways to talk to yourself. Future tense, I will, I need to, I'm going to. Or I shoulda, coulda, woulda, which is the past tense, as versus I am, which is in the present tense. And I ask all the viewers today to put anything, one of their goals or their daily actions to an I am phrase. Not a I am going to, but I am calling 5 large prospects today. I am working with my ESA scheduler today to make sure we are scheduled through the quarter. So I am, speak to yourself, and I am is the number 1 mindset. What it does, it opens itself up and gives you personal accountability, because your brain goes, okay, I am, then I am what? Let's do that.
Yeah.
So that's the first part about talking to yourself, because I think there's no one in the audience today who will disagree. The person you talk to the most is yourself.
Well, and what I like about that, and we won't spend much time here because we have quite a few things to get through, but in addition to speaking in the present tense, I think when we speak in the present tense, what we do also is we locate our current reality, our current present state. And so often we judge ourselves based on what could be or based on what was, and we neglect the fact of where we are. And I think one of the values that we take away by speaking in I am statements is we locate where we actually are. We get a bearing point for where we are today, which if we know where we are, then we can take the next steps of routing us to where we want to go. We have to know where we are first. So I love that too, because I am gets us there.
It provides an instant sense of clarity right now.
Exactly.
The next mindset tool, if you're as you're talking to yourself, always talk to yourself with positive self-talk affirmations. Okay, that's where the reality comes and meets the road about how you talk to yourself. We are a result of how we talk to ourselves. What we feed ourselves, we become in terms of how we speak to ourselves. So not only do we start with the I am mentality, but how you talk to yourself during the day and during your day of getting your daily underway. It's always about positive affirmations because we have enough outside distractions which will make us go back what we call to the comfort zone, and that can be very dangerous when you're trying to get things done, as opposed to be in a different zone, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But you set yourself with positive self-talk affirmations. These two together, I am and positive self-affirmations and positive self-talk, really is setting yourself up for a great day. The reason is I don't think you would disagree that at the end of the day, we are a result of the decisions we've made during the day. So let's start with the I am present moment, and let's put ourselves into positive self-talk affirmations. All of a sudden, your decisions become clearer and more accountable. You become a better result at the end of the day of what you've done.
So, but you're not saying this, and I just want to, speak to the elephant in the room here, because someone listening in can be, a bit triggered, or maybe they have a reaction to the fact of like, well, positive talk, let's rah, let's just get everyone all kind of hyped up and ignore reality that might be, I'm having a really bad week. So how do we speak to the positive, but also, acknowledge the fact that maybe this has been a hard week. We've lost a client. Maybe there's something going on in our personal life. We're not saying deny the obvious. We're just saying frame it in a positive context.
Well, we have a choice to frame it in a negative context or a positive context.
That's
and I'm
good.
asking people if they incorporate the two mindset tools up front, they'll be more apt to frame it up in a positive mindset. So I am noticing I've had a very bad week, but I am stronger than that, and I know that I will do better next week. So it's this kind of mentality that gets you out of that rut that can be easily put into in the comfort zone and not move out. You practice the I am and positive self-talk affirmations, you are going to find yourself in the choice of having a better framework for what's out there in reality every day. So we can, if you want to change things, change the way you think about them. Okay. And therein lies the heart and soul of how we think about it. And there's still things to be in reality to deal with. Number 3 is the 3 elements of decide. And as you know, decide, commit, become is the foundation of what do you do at decide at DCB strategies. In terms of, the everyday activity, when you have a decide mindset on those 3 elements, it requires a growth state of mind. I'm open for growth. I'm open for challenges, because if I see a challenge, I know in the word challenge is the word change. I can change with it. So growth state of mind, you're open-minded. You're not in a fixed mindset saying this is the only way it can be done. Your open mindset, number 1, element of decide. Number 2 is you have a purpose, not a need. I need more money, so I'm going to go after these actions. It's a purpose. This is for my family. This is for me. I've earned this. I want to make sure that I prove it to my firm that I am the number 1 in the territory. It's a huge purpose that is thick and it runs your heart. And anyone backs you up and challenges that purpose, you got it right in front of them. So number 1, you have the ability to have a growth mindset. Number 2, you have a purpose. Number 3, you are in, and that we talked about earlier, that present focus. So we have, just as a reminder, we're in present focus and using that I am. That's the 3rd element of decide. That's the mindset side. The next part is having the commit elements. That's the 4th part of the 4th tool in the mindset tools. And the commit side is the real challenge for people because it requires actions that need to be changed. When you commit, you have a strategy up front. So I am raising 10% more money in this quarter than I did last quarter, the statement. I am strong and we have enough resources to do this, no problem. I have a growth mindset. I have a purpose. I am, obviously in present tense. The commit is the 4th tool. We exercise the first part, which is strategy. What's my strategy? My strategy is that I am going to contact 30 people every 2 days. The actions, which is the next part of commit, is every Monday and Tuesday, I am talking to 5 to 15 of these people every Monday and Tuesday. You pick the time block. The next part is the persistence trigger. And so the 3 elements of commit, again, is strategy, actions that back up the strategy, and then persistence that keeps you in it when distractions, or you're tired, or you get your phone call from an aggravated client or so forth. It kind of can set you off your tracks. Get back to that persistence trigger. That could be a visual of something that's important to you. It could be your little person that talks to you and gives you positive self-affirmations. It could be a word that you believe in, which is uplift. Let's make sure that we have an uplift of ourselves. What is that persistence trigger that keeps you into the actions daily? So as a reminder, we have an I am statement, we have positive self-talk, we have the 3 decide factors, we have the 3 commit factors, and then last but not least in the mindset tools is make sure that when you're involved in achieving good things for your practice or personally, or you're going after your bold goal, make sure you're aware of the fact you're on the deliberate side of your brain. You will do that if you're in the first 2 segments of I am and positive self-talk, but deliberate thinking is different than default thinking. Biologically, those aren't the proper terms. We have 2 sides to our brain, default and deliberately. But psychologically and behaviorally, those are 2 sides to our brain. We have one choice, one side to exercise or the other. And when it comes to achieving ideas and achieving goals, your bold goals and so forth, get on the deliberate side of doing things.
Yeah.
Default side is your comfort zone. Comfort zone is meant to rest, repair, be safe. That's what your brain does. It's not a side that allows you to grow or wants to grow. It's a chill type of factor. It's not a bad place to be, but it's not a place to be in terms of achieving growth goals and so forth. Deliberate way of thinking is you're turning on your brain that wants to progress. Turning it on by being in the I am process. Turning it on by talking to yourself positively. All of a sudden, you're turning on and getting out of that default zone. Thus, you become aware of, and I'll just end it up with this part.
Yeah.
When you start thinking this way and you start talking to yourself, I am deliberate or default, and you start practicing, you'll become aware during the day where you're default thinking or deliberate thinking.
Yeah.
And then you'll be able to apply, is that where I want to be right now? It's a very tremendously strong tool in terms of, again, training our brain, our body will follow.
Yeah, so a lot there, which is awesome because this is the stuff you're in, and you've proven this in your 40 years of practicing in the financial wholesaling world and in the industry.
Sure.
So these aren't just theories. You've worked these into your life. They're ingrained, which is why it comes out of you so naturally. But one way to summarize what you're saying is the work of doing begins in our thinking.
Totally.
That's kind of what I hear you saying.
Yes,
so,
thank you for saying
often
that.
we think the work of improving our work is by changing our work.
No.
But you're actually pushing it back. No, actually, if what you're doing isn't working, start with your thinking.
Let me give you another way of putting that. Many are willing to win, but very far and few between are willing to prepare to win.
Right.
Preparing is getting your mindset ready.
Yeah.
And once your mindset is ready, let's get into actions with your habit set tools.
Another way to think about what you're talking about, which we all know this in different ways. If you want to change your actions, change your thinking. They're linked, and the thinking work leads to action work. That's how the flow works. But in the biblical world, which there's a connection here only because it's making me think of a word that most of us have heard in the church world, and it's this word called repent. Yeah. And we typically don't like that word repent because the way it's been preached at us is change your ways, or you're a sinner and change your ways or whatever. But let's just pull all that aside and look at the word repent. Because the word repent, we have somehow thought it means to change your actions. Repent, to turn and stop doing what you're doing and do other things, do from doing bad to doing good. But if you take the word repent in the Greek, it's actually the word metanoia. And that word metanoia for repent means change your mind or change your thinking. So anytime you see the word repent in the New Testament of the Bible, you're not hearing a word saying change your actions. It's actually change your thinking. Because if you change your mind, your life will follow. And so you're basically getting a basic human principle that says, hey, it starts with the thinking, 5 mindset tools. And if you get those right, which takes a lot of work, you got to keep your You got to keep your rhythm and your flow into working into this. Then some of the habits, which we want to talk about next, tee us up in that.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that with me. That is a really good way to position this, because it's a way to understand the power of working with the wonderful gift we have, which is this brain of ours. And our brain controls our thoughts and our actions clearly. So speaking of actions, because if you have the right thoughts, you're going to parlay yourself into the right actions. You're ready to go. So the first part of the 5 habit set tools, the first one is rise above the level playing field. And that if you walk around every day and you walk around and say, I'm rising above the level playing field, you're going to know by understanding these elements that you're going to check the boxes and see where you are. The first part about rise above the level playing field is making sure that you have a growth mindset in the morning when you're ready to go. Have time for gratitude, which means why don't you thank somebody once a day? Thank somebody in your sphere or your universe. Send them an email, send them a text, send them a note. Just take 5 minutes and thank somebody.
Yeah.
That kind of sets you up in a gratitude mode. And then find time during the day to unplug. There may be a 10-minute time frame where you can unplug from 12 to 4. I mean, 12 to 4. That's a nap. 12 to 15. Unplug, listen to some calm music, listen to whatever. Just chill out. Unplug a couple times a day.
Yeah.
It's very powerful. Rise above the level playing field also incorporates how you educate people. So there's 3 elements about education, which we did in a previous segment about visual, vocal, and also how they feel. Understand those types of traits and how you educate people and be on the same page with them. Then how to communicate with people in terms of rise above the level playing field. Now there's a few things in here, right? So how to communicate with people is what mode of communication? Do they like emails, like phone calls, or like text? Figure it out, ask them. Okay, how you communicate consistently. Then understand whether you're engaging with them or actually adding value with them. 2 different ways. Engaging is different than adding value. But engaging is providing them with, supplying them with, supporting them with, you fill in the sentence. Value add is actually educating them on something that is value add to their practice or their community or what they're doing. So again, in the rise above the level playing field, there's 9 elements there. 3 up front about how you start your day. Then we have how you educate, and then next how you communicate. But that's a huge habit set tool. And let's just share with the audience today, if you just start with that daily or that every other day, that habit set tool, you're already elevated amongst the average. You're elevated in your space because you're doing things others don't do, which will only make you better. So rise above the level playing field is just so important to start the day. So the next habit set tool is the 3 R's, we call it. Reassess, restate, and reactivate.
Yeah.
And this is, you can just follow it as the audience. Reassess what you've done. So let's just say this is what I did and this is what works so well. Doesn't mean everyone has to do it, but this is a model. Every 4th Thursday of the month, you reassess what you've done, right, wrong, or indifferent for your practice and your franchise growth. You restate what you want to do better with yourself and or your internal partner or your scheduler, etc. And then the next Monday, which starts the new month, you reactivate what you wanted, what you restated you're going to do. But just to cleanse that wonderful busy month out with reassess what's going on, restate, and then reactivate is powerful. And you get into that habit set tool. You could actually do it every week for your own personal professional business. Every Thursday afternoon before I close the books before Friday, I reassess what's going on in the week, restate what I want to do next week, and then reactivate that following Monday. It's a wonderful gift of simplicity of practicing the 3 R's.
Right.
So that's the second habit set tool. Again, your mindset has to be ready to go. You've got to be excited about this, and you've got to accept that these are habits that are going to be created. Now, if you set up your every day and say, okay, rise above the level playing field, what am I doing? Okay, you got that squared up. And making sure you do the 3 R's once a week or once a month with your internal or your sales scheduler, so forth. The next one, the third habit set tool, is be in the habit of knowing that there's 3 parts: designate, dedicate, and elevate. What I mean by that is this. Designate means we do not take for granted the designation we have. So as financial wholesalers, you have the designation of being a financial wholesaler, or an advisor, you have designation. That's a designation. You don't take it for granted. Dedication is the difference. How do you dedicate yourself to that professional craft? How do you really take it seriously? Intellectual uplifts, learn as much as you can. Part yourself out to make sure there's segments of that industry or that craft of yours in that space is at its best and highest level. Dedicate yourself to that space. And what you're by knowing your designation, dedicating yourself to it, you automatically are elevating your confidence level in that space to be more of a growth segment for those of anybody who works with you or talks with you about what you do. So again, basically take your role very seriously. If I ask anybody today, what's your designation? All right, half of them will get that right, just because we just don't think about it. Mm-hmm. Then I ask them, well, how you dedicate yourself to your designation? I would say less than a third will really understand that and what that means. But once I talk to them, how do you really dedicate yourself once a week? Take time to learn, take time to really round out, make sure you know everything about what you're talking about, your craft, dedicate yourself. And then they'll feel, again, the confidence and the growth. Their chin is up, shoulders are back now. Now they're ready to elevate amongst any type of audience, right, which only embraces their business to a higher level.
And I think what we know too, but this applies to exactly what you're talking about, is effort will get you so far. There's a level of effort when you start from zero where that's just what you need. Just put in the effort. At some point, though, you will reach a plateau or a peak where it's the law of diminishing return. And at some point, you have to realize effort now has to turn to more training, mastery, like you're talking about, dedication to your craft and becoming a master. Because if you just continue to apply effort, the others are going to start to leave you behind. I've heard it said this way, that there comes a point where you can try harder, but trying harder isn't the same as training harder. And there's a shift that we make where effort, down on the t-ball field works when you're learning baseball. But when you're in high school and maybe entering into college and you're looking to maybe get scouted and start to emerge into that top tier of maybe playing pro ball, effort isn't going to cut the mustard.
Nope.
You can't just try hard and hope to get there. You're going to have to train hard. And those who train hard is what you're getting at are the ones who are going to have the best opportunity to elevating.
Yeah, it is same exact language. Hard work or harder work? No. Hard work, smart work.
Right.
Because you're going to have that hard work underneath that underpinning of smart work. So we also have a comment I use at DCB Strategies, use the word very effectively up front. And I keep on sharing with people because this gets in their way. It's like, it's going to take some time to really perfect this or get involved and get a rhythm of this. I said, it takes effort. And guess what? Effort's for free.
Right.
Effort's for free. There's a bank that's always depositing effort. How much do you want to go get? And it's going to allow you to have the energy to get involved with your dedication process, which takes effort, smart work, which is great. The fifth habit set tool is making sure your priorities are right. Someone will say, well, why don't you start with that one first?
Yeah.
Well, that's fine, but if I want to rise above the level playing field, I got a great mindset. I'm doing all the elements. There's 7, 8 other elements and rise above the level playing field. I'm doing some elements that keeps me on track, but not the last habit set tool, but the fifth, okay? Not that there's 6, but they're all intermingled. But again, we want to have priorities as a habit set tool. Make sure that you know your priorities. And basically, there's must-haves priorities and should-have priorities. So you decide what you want to be doing, but there's must-have priorities and should-have priorities. And then there's distracted priorities. Make sure I'm just sharing with the audience straight up. You don't have to do a segment on that, but prioritize your time. Let me give you an example. If you have a to-do list, take a look at your to-do list and look at how many of those to-dos are for you. Okay? And for you. And then take those 1 or 2 of those 20 to-do pieces and say, those are 1 or 2 for me. That's a short list. But that's a priority because you're a priority, because without you, those things wouldn't get done.
Right.
But again, set your priorities, be bold and set your priorities. And then all these wonderful elements in these 4 other habit set tools will just ring and rhyme with a great element of success for you. But it's a lot of work, a lot of effort, smart work, smart effort. Mindset tools set you up. Habit set tools are the actions as a result of that that's going to elevate your business and your craft.
Yeah, and I want to speak to something you were talking about there with priorities, because I think it allows us a moment here to speak to this myth or illusion under the label of work-life balance. And I just want to take a moment, give you my opinion on that. I don't think there's a possibility of work-life balance. I don't think you can harmonize all of your world and try to size them up and give equal distribution at a particular day or season of your life to say everything gets equal time.
Right.
What I've learned from some of the best coaches in my life and how I mentor and coach people is, in the season, what is your priority? And sometimes the season is in the next 90 days. Just think out in the next 90 days, what are the most important things you need to focus on getting done to reach your big goal that you talk about, your big, bold goal. Well, the minute you list those things out, you then, what we do is a process called value stacking. So now what you have is you have a list of your priorities and the things that are on your list. And what you do is you stack them 1 through 10 or 1 through 12 in order, because there's no way everything on that list is going to get equal opportunity. You only have so much activatable resources. And your activatable resources are your time, they're your money, and they're your energy. And why they're activatable is because they're actually limited and they're restricted. Don't tell me what you're willing to do if you had all the money in the world. I'm not interested in that answer.
Right.
I'm actually interested in you talking to me about what you're going to do with what you have in your hands. To me, that's where it gets real.
Yeah.
And so when you have activatable resources, you now go, how much time do I actually have in my next 90 days to give? How much money? And then this thing that we often neglect is the energy. Why? Because we spend our time, we spend our money, and we pay attention.
That's a great
right?
Great.
And so we have to size that up and go, okay, what's going to get? Now, I realize family may be at the top of my list, but for this season, family might drop to number 4, not because it's lower. They're all equal in your mind.
Right.
But to get your goal done, you may have to put time up on other priorities, other things that are showing up in this season so that you can actually do all of it really well. So anyway, it's just a way to kind of size up priorities in a helpful way that releases people to go, no, this season, this 1 or 2 things are going to get most of my time.
Love it.
Call it value stacking.
Love it.
Yeah.
That's a great way of prioritizing value stacking.
Yeah.
Many people, many clients value stack, prioritize my health. Number 1.
Exactly.
Okay. Number 2, my health requires a couple things: hydration, nutrition, so forth. So they then have a value stack on top of that.
And farmer carries.
Farmer carries. That's right. 80 pounds in every hand. You're crazy. And then, but again, thank you for putting that in there, because that gives the audience another way of looking at it. This isn't a job just about work. It's about your health, your family, because if your health and family are great, your work is going to go off the charts.
Absolutely.
So,
So today, as we summarize, and we'll land it here, I feel like what we got was the everything DCB strategies.
This is a tool set. The tool set's there. This is a toolbox. Pick the tool you want to get really good at, and all the other tools will shine right next to it because they all interlinked with each other. So this is a growth toolbox, and thanks for letting me share it.
The Financial Wholesaler podcast is sponsored by Executive Scheduling Associates. If you're looking for appointment setting services, visit our website at esasolutions.com.